Shanghai, China, a city long isolated from the West. For the first time, Shanghai recently opened her doors to a major Hollywood production. Empire of the Sun is directed by Steven Spielberg, one of America's foremost filmmakers.
Have you ever thought about acting in something?
离开了好多时间没有讲英文了。
Saying,
About
I'm sorry,
30 years, 30 years
he
more.
hasn't spoken English in about 30 years.
Well, tell him he has a very good face for movies, for film.
你很上镜头。
Okay, welcome to show business.
Spielberg has come to China to recreate a forgotten chapter in its recent history. 50 years ago, Shanghai was a war zone. The Japanese had invaded the city in the build-up to World War II. An unfortunate group of Western civilians was caught in the crossfire. Few people remember that on the day of Pearl Harbor, all American and British civilians living in Shanghai were imprisoned by the Japanese. Thousands of men, women, and children were trapped. Author J.G. Ballard was among them, and the film is based on his story. As a boy, Ballard struggled to survive in wartime Shanghai.
This is a view of war, seen not from the point of fighting soldiers, as is usually the case, but from the point of view of civilians. It's civilians, really, who suffer the most during a war like the one I lived through in China.
It's really about the death of innocence, the death of one's childhood, which is kind of the opposite of stuff I usually do. I usually celebrate childhood, and I usually celebrate the kind of perseverance and preservation of innocence. But this was a real interesting story about how it takes an entire war to turn a young boy into a man.
I'm Martin Sheen. Join me for a fascinating look at the recreation of a childhood journey where East meets West and past meets present on the streets of Shanghai. Half a century after it happened, Japanese troops once again march into China's largest city. Under the direction of Steven Spielberg, the childhood memories of J.G. Ballard explode back to life.
When I've said it took 20 years to forget the events that took place in Shanghai and another 20 years to remember them, I think that's probably true. I had to shut out all memories of Shanghai.
Dateline Shanghai, August 13th, 1937.
Long before Pearl Harbor and America's entry into the war, Japan had made strides to conquer the Pacific. By 1937, the Japanese had occupied large areas of China, including the strategic port of Shanghai. The entire city was occupied, but in an unusual move, the Japanese left one area untouched. This was known as the International Settlement. As the longtime home of Western businessmen and their families, the International Settlement was protected by diplomatic security. It was almost like a country within a country. Life here was in direct contrast to life in war-torn Shanghai. The 30,000 European and American residents lived in grand style, continuing with the business interests and leisure activities they had pursued for generations. James Ballard was born in the British enclave. As a young child, he remained isolated from the increasing dangers of war.
Wire fences were put up around the international settlement, and there were checkpoints which we moved through every day.
For the film, the barbed wire fences that isolated the Westerners were reconstructed exactly where they stood in 1937.
Try with a real stick and just push them back, so he's on the ground. Physically push them away from the gate.
we were insulated behind the passenger windows of those American cars that we rolled around in. There was great optimism there, even if the Japanese did occupy the international settlement, that life in Shanghai would continue for those who stayed. Steven Spielberg was kind enough to suggest that I might play guest at a fancy dress party on the eve of Pearl Harbor.
It's quite an ordeal, the characters in your book, your family, yourself, the people you knew, what they go through is almost shocking.
I can't think of anybody, actually, who could, handle the boy better than you.
I'm very lucky to have a good boy, though. Everybody gives me credit for being good with kids, but I'm lucky because I've been able to get great kids. Jim is so nosy, he doesn't mind in a conversation, and that doesn't bother him. He's not aware that somebody might be going, well, dear, please.
To play the character Jim, Spielberg chose 13-year-old British actor Christian Bale.
He's playing me, in a sense, and I was impressed to see how physically alike he is to the boy I was at that age.
Here we go!
Through his performance, Christian will relive Ballard's memories firsthand.
The character of this 11, 12-year-old learns that the name of the game is survival. Whether it's just day to day, hour to hour, that survival is what is important. And I think Christian Bale conveys that.
Please tell the Army that Jim's the actor, and his opportunity is to surrender to them. And he's going to be running around trying to surrender. From the time they get to you here until the time the Army is right here, I want you to be right in front of them, right? Okay.
And then just whatever happens from then.
Yeah, we'll see whatever happens. We'll go see what it does to you. I'll let you take the first one on your own, okay? Fine, one more time, go back. More smoke, please.
On the streets of Shanghai, the filmmakers always drew a massive crowd. The Chinese were more than just curious about the Westerners and their movie-making process. For some, this recreation brought back memories of a painful time in recent history.
Seeing this reminds me of that time very much.
I'll never forget.
I was 24 years old when Shanghai was occupied by the Japanese invader. It was very much like this.
Good, good. When you get that close, the surrender should be very soft, very shy. This is your last surrender.
No.
Very quickly, looking back and forth, very quickly. Right. Breathing. Good, good, good. Right, very nice, Christian.
I remember on the morning of the attack on Pearl Harbor, I, like my young character in the book, was actually lying in bed at about 7 o'clock in the morning. Then I heard this strange rumbling in the distance. These were Japanese tanks, and I remember my parents telling me to get up. I said, never mind the invasion by the Japanese, I've got a scripture exam. And I remember my father saying, there won't be a scripture exam today, there won't be any exams at all this Christmas. I thought, wonderful.
Oh, good. See the ship, see the ship. See the battleship, just watch it move. Okay, aim the light and flash once. Get ready. 1, 2, 3.
The security of life in Shanghai was shattered when Japan declared war on the West. The same day as Pearl Harbor, Japanese troops charged through the barricades of the international settlement, causing panic in the streets.
people just came in, went bang the first time, and I was near them to get through and kicking and going and trying to keep the zero up in the air.
Get him out of there! Get him out of there! Look, get him out of the way.
让开路，让开路，让开路，让开路。
The first time, I felt a bit claustrophobic.
Okay, well, he couldn't see anything.
But I mean, it wasn't as bad as it looked, really.
A couple of people, though, they stopped barging in.
Because there were these guys around us protecting us.
The protection crowd needs to protect the artist.
Exactly.
So they just need to form a buffer.
These are just our ones to keep around the artists when they get in through, just to protect them from the other 3,000. That will give them more specific action. You
Very good.
Playing the soldiers in these large-scale battle scenes were actual members of the Chinese military. This filmic combat was unlike any they had been trained for in the past.
When they get shot, just have them both drop.
Yeah.
Just drop to the ground and both try to crawl away.
倒下去以后，然后到了地下，然后翻了一身，转一身，OK。我就倒下去。你倒下去以后，然后一点点爬，一点点爬，要很艰苦，就是你打了子弹的这个感觉。
Right. Only in Hollywood do we die like this.
好不好 ？OK。
I mean, let this man literally leave his gun there and try to crawl away.
好，你看到，你看到，
Right?
要 OK。
I think the reason I want you to have the plane in your hand is because you need to make a choice between your mother's hand or your airplane, which drops. And you choose your airplane, which falls.
Action, go! Go!
Let go of your mother to get the airplane, and your mother is swept away in this force.
Jamie! Jamie! Jamie!
In the film, Jim is separated from his parents. He would spend the rest of the war alone.
Stacy, don't leave me! Leave me!
The Japanese were now in full control of the city. The face of Shanghai was about to change forever. The Japanese invasion of Shanghai forced together many people who normally had nothing in common. In Empire of the Sun, the character Jim meets up with a pair of merchant seamen, played by John Malkovich and Joey Pantoliano.
Now move in, Jim, so we can see Basie do that.
Let's go, Frank.
Jim is fascinated by all the Americans he meets, as I was myself. Jim finds that the Americans have a style, an ease, which makes them very, very different from the British whom he's been brought up with.
2 watches, a gold cigarette.
Basie is one of the few people who offers Jim any kind of kindness.
Here, have a look at it.
No longer shielded behind the window of the family Packard, Jim must face the cruelties of war.
Push in. Faster, faster. And right there, Will. Your peripheral vision will show you him getting beaten, and you'll hear the sounds. But your look is to Basie here. You have no eye movement. Watch me. You have no eye movement. It's like hit, 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 hit. Don't sing. Hit, right. Hit, 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 hit. Yeah, I can't tell you how strong that's wonderful.
As for the brutality mentalities. They seem to be so widespread in human nature. I don't feel any resentment towards the Japanese at all.
In today's Shanghai, the only remnants of the Japanese occupation are bunkers scattered about the city. They serve as uncommissioned monuments to the war that took its toll on China. The residents of Shanghai were the unfortunate victims of the first aerial bomb drop on a civilian population. The resulting destruction disguised the city from its previous beauty. Before the war, Shanghai was known as the Paris of the East, the world's most exotic city.
It was an absolutely wide-open city, absolutely dedicated to 100% full-blooded capitalism. It had this reputation of being the wickedest city in the Orient. There were something like 400 nightclubs alone in Shanghai. It was an extraordinary place, full of terrorist bombings, outrages of every kind, thousands of beggars. There were no rules, no regulations, anything went. If you can imagine ancient Rome with neon, you've got it.
Let me see your face. Great, perfect. Just like Charles Lawton, famous American actor. Okay. I remember the Hunchback. The Hunchback Shuffle. The Hunchback dance.
American movies like The Hunchback of Notre Dame and Gone with the Wind once graced the film screens of Shanghai. In fact, the American presence influenced the entire city.
Everybody lived an American style of life, with American cars, American consumer goods, Coca-Cola, air conditioning, American comics, which I read as a child.
Who's that? Is he a hero?
These Black Cat comics symbolize the changes that have taken place in China since Ballard read his American comics there 50 years ago.
Do you want to be like him?
When the war ended, the Westerners vanished, and so did their influence. Now, the Western faces that were once so familiar stand out as visitors in Shanghai.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Nice to see you.
Wow, yeah, you guys play fast. If we were playing American poker, I'd be a winner.
他不会咬人的。
这位叔叔他是演员，他是一个电影叫《太阳帝国》的一个主角演员。Or one here. The store specializes in selling alcoholic drinks, soy sauce, and vegetable oil. Nice.
It's like Harvey's Bristol cream.
Shanghai is a city that overwhelms the senses, the sights, the smells, and the sounds. The Chinese language is one of the world's most complex, as the cast found in preparing for the film.
Jing.
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 It's a clear
It's in between.
Yeah.
It's in between ch, ch, and j, right? So it's Jing.
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 神经病.
Good. Okay.
And now
And that means you're crazy.
Crazy. 神经病 crazy.
神经病.
Crazy. Crazy.
Crazy 是 queen 那个是
就是 crazy 他这样教的 crazy 他已经学过了 crazy 改了 crazy 干嘛
The novel, covers a large-scale set of events. Large sections of the film were shot in Shanghai itself. And it's very important because of the fact that Shanghai hasn't changed that much.
Yeah, this looks gorgeous, Norman. Look at this. This is the shot right here.
Just draw what you think of the frame of it. That's more or less the frame.
This is more or less the frame with the crowd on the bridge.
Yeah.
And Norman, Your offensive modern building is not even in the shot.
Shanghai is a city frozen in time with a skyline unlike any other in China.
People from the West, I mean, they created Shanghai. The British, like the French, like the Americans, recreated the sort of countries they'd come from in the first place. Nobody would have known, looking at it, it was a Chinese city. And in many respects, it wasn't a Chinese city. It was a Western city.
For his most ambitious shot, Spielberg used this western skyline as a backdrop. His goal was to transform Shanghai's busiest street back to the 40s. The 7-block area had never been closed in its history until this movie.
Oh, goodness.
Thousands of extras converged on the location. Each person was outfitted in authentic period dress.
That looks good.
East meets West to recapture a moment in the past. For one brief morning, Shanghai jumped 50 years back in time.
You are the best group of actors in the world. Thank you for a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope everybody comes back tomorrow. We'll have more fun.
As millions were affected when the world went to war, the stories that evoke true emotion focus on individuals and personal moments.
It's Jim at his most desperate. The only time Jim is this desperate again in the picture is toward the end of the film. And he's so frightened of being isolated and abandoned at this detention center. The words are not coming out. You know, when sometimes when you dream at night and something's chasing you in your dream and you're trying to say, Mom, Dad, help me, and you can't, all that comes out is air, just lung air just comes out, not even a full lung full of air. It's, you know, Jim just cannot be by himself.
Stacy, don't leave me here! Stacy, take me with you, listen! Here we go!
Unaware of the dangers that await him, Jim leaves Shanghai. He is forced to spend the remainder of his childhood in a Japanese internment camp. When the Japanese declared full-scale war in 1941, all Westerners living in Shanghai were taken prisoner. They were interned in 13 camps in and around the city. Like thousands of others, the young James Ballard was unprepared for what he would face as a captive.
Immersing myself in my memories of wartime Shanghai brought back a whole mass of memories that I'd completely forgotten. Things like the smell of the camp and of the surrounding territory, all those stagnant canals and creeks, the mosquitoes and flies. Those are the things that I'd forgotten first.
Ballard's memories of his own camp next to the Lunghua airfield served as a foundation for the camp in the film.
Of course, I remember the camp. We were living through bitterly cold winters in unheated cement buildings. Half the people at least had malaria. So the response was as mixed as you would expect if you just took 2,000 people off the street in Britain or the United States and locked them behind a barbed wire fence with poor diet.
The people around you in the stock company have to make it harder for Christian to get potatoes. You've got to fight him more.
The main diet was sweet potato. Horrible, sweet, gray pith That was our main diet, plus rice. I cannot even stand thinking about sweet potatoes. They started selling them in British supermarkets, and they just make me ill even looking at them. It's fair to say that children have a very selective view of things and can endure almost anything. And children can survive quite cheerfully. It was a prison, but it was a special kind of prison.
As all this is going on, you'll be marching back and forth. You'll be marching here and there, just singing the song. He's been in the camp too long. You know, it's got to be a little bit bummy. It's a long way. Some anger in the song. You know what I'm saying, Jack? Throw some anger in the song.
Oh, it's a long way to Tipperary.
If you're living in conditions of extreme poverty, small possessions are immensely important. A bit of an old pencil, a hair clip, a comb or a belt or a buckle. These things have a sort of special magic.
But my heart's right there.
Good, cut.
Many of the adventures that Jim goes through are invented, but I think his psychology is very true to mine.
So many things were wonderfully abstracted by a 12-year-old's memory. I mean, Ballard was only 12, and half of what happened up here. So what's great about this project is half fact and half fiction. It's a real nice blend. It's something that would coincide with the way Ballard imagined his camp, or the way he wished his camp would have been, to have made his life more of an adventure.
A child of 11, 12, 13 has very little idea of the long-term implications of what is happening. Like Jim, I was fascinated by all the military equipment, the Japanese tanks, the equipment that the average Japanese infantryman wore, their planes. It was like a huge stage set. It was very, very strange in that respect. I mean, it was almost like a movie.
Good. It freezes her a second. Can you do even faster than that? If you do it like that in the picture, man, it sounds so real. That's where it sounds real.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay.
One. Hey, camera. Hey, camera. Background.
I was never surprised by any of the Japanese brutality in the camp. I never suffered from it myself directly. However, they certainly were very brutal with the adult males.
Sergeant Nagata!
I think many people behaved steadfastly. Well, there was a lot of quiet courage and determination. There were no opportunities for heroism anyway.
The harsh realities of war existed on both sides of the barbed wire. Outside the camp, Chinese prisoners were forced into manual labor by the Japanese. In huge work parties, they carved roads and runways out of stone. Covered with dust, they had a ghost-like appearance.
Start the engines up!
In a massive makeup call, high-pressure hoses were used to spray extras with talcum powder, recreating the look of the Chinese laborers.
I think it's true that the Japanese were pretty brutal with the Chinese. So I didn't have any particularly sentimental view of them. But small boys tend to find their heroes where they can. One thing there was no doubt about, and that was the Japanese were extremely brave. One had very complicated views about patriotism, loyalty to one's own nation.
Arigato.
Jim is constantly identifying himself, first with the Japanese, then when the Americans start flying over in their Mustangs and B-29s. He's very drawn to the Americans.
We have an important shot. And this is the shot where the plane goes by the boy and the pilot smiles and salutes the kid.
Does he have to have
This is a kid's dream, is to have a pilot in combat acknowledge his existence and salute him. It's just one of these really cool sort of action figure positions, and it's gonna be such a quick shot. You've got to really give me a face, a real face here. Right, more with the eyes. Right, way open. Big, big, bigger, bigger.
Jim falls in love with these beautiful planes. His imagination is constantly reaching out to anything that will offer him hope. And I felt much of the same sort of thing myself during the war.
To capture the author's fascination with planes, authentic Japanese and American fighters were used with the help of a small air force. To supplement the real planes, a fleet of miniatures was built at exactly 1/3 scale. With wingspans ranging from 7 to 18 feet, these models were the largest ever assembled for a movie. Their size required the power of motorcycle engines. After 4 months of preparations, the pilots were lowered into their cockpits. The planes were ready for combat.
Empire of the Sun has ranged in models quite a way. The favourite one from a seat of the pants flying is the Mustang. The worst one to fly, in fact, is the Zero.
I want to know which run we're supposed to drop the bombs on.
The hardest part is if you've started watching the wrong model. You soon know when something's going wrong because one model starts to peel off and everybody thinks it's not theirs.
I certainly saw Mustangs being shot out of the air, trailing smoke and pilots bailing out. Pilotless planes flying on and crashing on the other side of the river.
Could I have this?
More American planes were lost than people realize.
The largest of the American planes to fly over Shanghai was the B-29 bomber. During the war, it was known as the Super Fortress. For a boy confined to a prison camp, the B-29 offered the hope of liberation.
I remember being absolutely stunned by the size of the first B-29s. They were the ultimate in high-tech, streamlined styling. In fact, I'm still very impressed by the one or two that fly around. They really stir old memories.
For all the freedom they symbolized, the planes over China ultimately left a trail of destruction. By the end of 1944, the war was building to a climax, and the fate of the civilian prisoners became increasingly uncertain. As World War II stretched on into 1945, the civilians confined to camps in China had been isolated for more than 3 years. Many of the children who were taken prisoner at the outbreak of the war were now coming of age.
You'll come around this way, and you'll approach it like this. Then I would slip under the bottom wire. I would give one more look at the tower right here. Very important.
The character, Jim, benefits from the hard education that war brings to him. If you like, it's a kind of unsentimental education.
That needs to be artificial barbed wire. He doesn't cut himself.
I was completely out of parental control. I was free to roam everywhere and take risks that, when I look back, leave me gasping, like climbing through the wire just as a couple of Japanese guards happened to walk by and all that sort of thing.
Oh, that's not too bad. It's not too cold. I wouldn't go in it. It's not too cold. Then you have to be really down on your stomach for this one. Actually crawling on your stomach, your legs back. Actually, be on your stomach with just your head out of the water. A little Steve McQueen, this kid. Cut!
Okay,
Great.
hold it.
Brennan, can we get some mud here? Some makeup mud, so when Christopher's face is covered in mud. Here we go, guys.
I remember looking back at the camp, which of course I had never seen from the outside. There was this universe where I'd lived for nearly 3 years, which I knew intimately. I knew every stone and every weed. But it suddenly seemed very strange, in a threatening way. I wanted to get back inside the wire where there was security. But the pull of a secure environment is very, very strong. It took a long while to throw that off. I want to see what happened. It's curious that when people have looked at photographs of me at the age of 10, 11, 12, they've always said, well, it's amazing how much you've changed. You don't look anything like that boy of 12 that you once were. But the curious thing is that Christian does look like the boy I was.
I'm a pretty young kid, really, Jim is. And I turned from being a young kid into a teenager. And so that's a pretty big part of your life. He does mature a lot. And by the end, he's 15. For 15 to have been through all of that, I mean, he's been through a hell of a lot. I've just had enough, really. It's just all been too much. And at that point, life doesn't really mean much to me.
No, I don't. Just everybody
Someone in that corner.
It's like you're wiping a tear without letting him see it. I don't want anybody to see it.
That's fine.
A little slower, though. I mean, a little slower. You see the final look, Jim?
I'll start to put in their cases.
This was the only room, I think, in the story for tears.
Yeah.
So he's sort of crying because this is the last day of his childhood, and he goes into another era after this. For the rest of his life, he will never be the same. I guess you could think your life was so simple that everything you once were is contained in this small box, which is not really a fair measure of who you are, but it's interesting to think about this box as everything it used to be. So
it was quite a harrowing experience in some ways, writing the book. One of the reasons, I think, why I may have waited so long is that I felt protective towards my younger self.
Yes. Yes, and you step forward here, right, with the yell, and then you come forward to here.
We had heard towards the end of the war that the Japanese planned to march all the inmates inland and kill them. They tended to kill their prisoners before dying to the last man themselves.
By June of 1945, the American Air Force had Shanghai within range. James Ballard was 14 years old when the American fighter bombers emerged from the skies, attacking Japanese targets in and around Shanghai.
We would first hear a sort of blare of noise, and these low-flying planes would come in across the abandoned paddy fields. I remember standing on the second floor. The Mustangs were so low that we were looking down at them.
Staging a full-scale attack of low-flying Mustangs required weeks of preparation and a detailed battle plan.
Yeah, no. On our first round, we should go brrr, boom.
Yeah. The assault involved a series of bomb drops. To execute them, a team of aerobatic pilots was recruited.
Releasing now. Okay, now hit the one relationship to number 2.
So when we bomb this hangar, there'll be 2 bombs coming off.
The pilots would be dropping dummy bombs. At the exact moment they hit, the effects team would trigger underground explosives.
That's what makes the shot grand, I think. Okay. If the actors can get their lines and get their performances, more importantly, and we can get it on the first take after a number of rehearsals. Yeah. Once the explosion hits, that's when you start bouncing. And then, boom!
And should I shout anything before the explosion? What happens? There's Jim's up on the roof, yelling, screaming, waving his arms. And the Mustangs going over, bombing the airfield. And I thought, I've got to really, do really well on this. It's like a one-take thing. It's obviously pretty important.
We're timing this all to the airplanes that we rehearsed yesterday.
When you see the first plane coming in, you start your aerial flag then.
I'll ring you back in 5, and then you should be taxiing and on the way, and then I'll keep the line open. Okay, go for it.
And you hear an airplane coming from over here.
Yeah.
And it's like this, watch, boom, boom, and just wild jumping with that boom, wild jumping, and then you hear a plane, turn immediately, still jumping. That motivates the focus on you, then turn back.
All right, stand by the roll. Right, roll cameras, roll. Back, roll. Cameras, right.
Back. Background! Right. Christian code. We lost the turn and all that sort of neat stuff, because Jim is supposed to be over the top here. We'll have to do that cover. Yeah, bring in the fire department. Coming in.
The one-take shot didn't quite go as planned. Spielberg would like another chance with the performance, but the pressure was on to work quickly before the smoke and flames disappeared.
Do it! I'm in the kitchen, guys, baking. Just set the lens and let me keep doing this until I'm out here. Okay? And roll!
28 frames.
Have them ducked out of sight. React moderately to the explosion. Boom! Reaction, Christian. Pretend you see the explosion on the field. And pretend the explosion's to your left where you were just looking. Do that again. Do that turn again. Do it over here. And boom!
Horsepower! Whoa! Go!
Open your eyes. See it. Big reaction. Okay. That was good.
I remember there was a long period of confusion of several weeks when we weren't altogether certain that the war had ended. There were rumors that atom bombs had been dropped. There were people in the camp who claimed that they had seen a flash of the atom bombs. It might have happened, and it might have been a sort of hallucination. Oddly enough, the biggest adjustment that I had to make was not going from the sheltered life in pre-war Shanghai to the camp. The biggest adjustment was going from the camp at the end of the war to the peace. That was very strange because, of course, I was much older. I found the idea of not living in this small enclosed area, not seeing the world through barbed wire, very odd indeed. But Jim, in a sense, is quite happy in the camp, as I was myself. If I'm honest, when people say to me, what was it actually like in the camp? I have to admit that I quite enjoyed myself.
Whoa! P-51! Cadillac of the sky!
Go! 40 years after World War II ended, nations that were once at odds joined forces in Shanghai. They came together with Steven Spielberg to recreate a personal story of war. Through Empire of the Sun, author J.G. Ballard was able to relive the memories of his lost childhood in China.
Shanghai is so loaded with powerful memories for me. After all, that very strange, in many ways very cruel city shaped my character. Going back was like going back in time.
In recreating one boy's odyssey into manhood, the Chinese, Japanese, British, and Americans shared in conveying a universal message of peace for now and for future generations.